Well, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for another episode of your favorite show by now, because it's been a whole year, over a year actually, since Brandon and I started this little quest to put on these shows. We haven't done 100 episodes yet. We haven't been that busy for this year, but we've averaged about one every 2 weeks, maybe some lulls here and there. But it's pretty good to be able to get on here and talk to my buddy and share things with you out there in the world. Brandon, how are you on this fine evening?
Yeah, I'm all right. Not feeling great. You remember how you were sick a couple weeks ago? I'm feeling a little down, and got a flight to catch on Saturday, so I don't want to. I want to be healed by then. So I need your healing advice. Someone who, like you, always sick, always seem to be coming down with something. You keep late hours and drink a lot of booze. So I need some tips to get healthy by Saturday.
Well, lucky for you, I'm the embodiment of Wolverine. I heal myself very quickly. I have a dynamite immune system, which reassures me that I haven't picked up any dangerous STDs because I heal.
Do you, do you think that Wolverine's immune to STDs? That's something I never
That is
thought
a good
about.
question. Yeah, that is a very good question. You would think so. He heals himself, so anything that he catches, that would be interesting. Wolverine can just kick it back, and some girl's like, "So, have you ever had an STD?" And he can be like, "'Cause he's probably had them all at this point. He's old. He's old as
Over the
shit."
course of 150 years, you think he would pick up something?
Yeah,
You know?
especially back in the World War One days and stuff. And penicillin wasn't curing everything. So, but anyways, as much as I want to talk about Wolverine's STDs, to get you healthy, it's got to be a bitch for you, wife, two kids. You guys just trade the germs like constantly.
Not really. You know what? I don't. I don't get sick very often. Maybe once a year. In terms of just like cold or flu or anything like that. I don't really get. I don't get sick very often.
Well, that's good. That means you're not too stressed out, and your immune system's doing pretty good. I take all sorts of vitamins. Mine's due to stress most of the time. I'm a stress machine over here. Anxiety wears me down, but I'm feeling good today. So my tip of the day for you is going to be drink lots of water, get your vitamin C and D and all the other stuff. Throw some B in there, make you feel better, and just get some rest. If you even have to cut this episode short so you can get in bed, I'm willing to do it for you.
All right, man. Weird thing to say to another guy, but all right.
Hey, that's what friends are for. So, a whole year of doing shows, and we've touched on some good things. My therapy's come a long way. We didn't have as many guests so far as I've wanted, but that's okay. And there's one other thing that was kind of bothering me the other day when I was looking back at our shows is I don't think I've told enough great stories. I've been picking that up lately, and more importantly, I haven't felt like I've influenced enough or really maybe put out more encouragement to people in their 30s that are like me, that are still trying to do things in the world that the rest of society might deem as a waste of time or a dreamer per se. Maybe my head's in the clouds, but I'm still trying to create and do things. And I just want to encourage people to keep doing the same.
That's. It sounds like you've been doing a lot of reflecting these past couple weeks and going through old episodes. Yeah. Do you feel like you're in a better place right now than when you started?
Absolutely. I think a year ago to now, I've come a long way. I don't think we're at the end by any means, but I'm feeling pretty good. Good outlook on life. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're getting there. So thanks to you and all the fans that have tuned in the show and watched it. So other things that happened a year ago that are coming up upon us, and maybe it's why you're a little fatigued. Maybe you are a little stressed. Maybe a little anxiety on your part. That's what's making you sick. Your birthday's right around the corner. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. Oops. Oops.
Even R2D2
Don't
agreed.
say it. Lucas will find out. Oh,
R1D7.
he's already caught us. He's already caught us. All right,
Wow.
muted. Yeah, yep. It's coming up on Friday, and shoot, that was the thing I was gonna give you crap about is forgetting, but no, yeah, it's coming up. Actually, truthfully, I think because 2 weeks ago it was like low 40s weather here in Michigan, and rainy and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it was 70s, almost 80. You know what? Actually, I think it was 80s. And then now it's like and then over the weekend it popped back down to like 50s, and then now it's coming back up. This week I hear it's going to be 80s. I think that has more to do with feeling fatigued, feeling just under the weather, more than anything else. That seems to affect me more than like exposure to germs or, rubbing poop in your eye or whatever. That's what I think, from my scientific opinion.
Well, you're probably onto something there. Environmental things are huge for people's moods, and I think that's why everyone kind of gets blasé in the wintertime, because you don't get enough that sun in your life. Get a little deficient on your vitamin D there, so you gotta get out there and get some sun. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Like about getting older, and Wolverine too. It's like I don't feel too old. I know that I'm old. Especially like if I think back to high school days, thinking like 30s. Oh my God, that's so old. I'm gonna have a heart attack or whatever. I don't feel that old because people still think I'm really young just by looking at me. I think I've talked about this before, but one of the new guys at work was telling me that when we were interviewing him, there was a team interviewing him, and he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, that's really cool that this is such an environment that they let the interns come in and participate in the hiring, the interview process for the new people." And then when he found out I was like 8 years older than him, he was like, "That's effed up." So I think that contributes to me not feeling very old, even though this is every trip around the sun, get some more bags under my eyes, get some more gray hairs, whatever. I don't care. Don't care. No stress.
Well, luckily for you, no, you've aged well. You still look young. I think he was probably speaking more of your demeanor and personality. You come across as a 12-year-old or an 18-year-old, but that's neither here nor there.
At least a 16-year-old who's gotten his license, okay?
Or at least old enough to be an intern. So.
Yeah.
No, you're aging well. I mean, these cameras don't do us enough justice, or at least, let the people out there get a better view of how good you look. I'm looking old as shit. I ain't gonna lie. No, actually, yeah. I was thinking the other day I'm aging pretty well. I'm slow aging. I think my body's breaking down. My chronic.
You think your body's breaking down?
It is, absolutely. I got crazy tendonitis in my knees, and I have a bad back. I'm pretty sure I have a way worse back than I know about, but I never had insurance or the money to go get an MRI, and so I just deal with it. And so one of these days, when I'm an adult, I'll get around to looking at it. But it's kind of one of those things, if you don't do it, you don't really know, and you don't think about it, but then you go find out you actually have something wrong with you, or it's worse than you thought. Then you have to think about it all the time, and I don't need that anxiety in my life. So just trying to exercise, do my yoga and my working out, and eat healthy and get all my vitamins. I got dietitian friends that take good care of me and tell me what to do. And I ain't as young as I used to be, but I ain't as old as people think either.
What people think? You're old. Do people think you're old?
Yeah, I get a lot of shit, my work environments, things like that. I deal with a lot of young people, and so I'm usually one of the oldest people, which is ironic, because when I was young, when I was 17, 18, all through my 20s, I was always the youngest in my clique of friends, and of those friends, and now I'm like one of the oldest besides you, so it's kind of weird for me to be the old guy, but it happens. It's all right.
Hey, you know what Matthew McConaughey's character always says?
What does Matthew McConaughey's character always say?
I don't know the exact quote. I figured you had had it memorized or written on your body in ink at some point. That's what you should like. He's. I
should get the tattoo right on my chest so I can take my shirt off and say, "Ladies, high school girls, I keep getting older, but they stay the same age.
I keep getting older, but they stay the same age." Now, I think I'm going to take off my shirt. I'm just going to take off my shirt now.
It's so true. But, young girls, I don't know if I I don't want to start singling them out, but I don't know if I can deal with young girls anymore. So they're just that generation gap there, just nothing interesting to talk about. Just can't get into it. So might have
Is
to.
it difficult to carry on a conversation with someone who's from an entirely different generation? Like, we're to the point where it's a completely different generation, and there's a huge gap between us and the people who are, like, I'm assuming early 20s that you're working with.
You have to define conversation because young people never shut the fuck up. And they have nothing to say that's important, but they never shut up. And the only time they think is when you're talking and they're thinking about what they're going to say
What
next.
they're not listening to what you're saying. They're thinking, okay, they're forming their response in their mind.
Yeah,
See,
like you say a word and it prompts them in their brain for something else they want to talk about.
yeah, yeah. Do they see? Like, my impression of it would be like they're disengaged. They're more disengaged and not talking as much because they're focusing on their phone or whatever. That's not the
Well,
case.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, no. That is entirely the case. Like, to get a young person to even talk to you is hard enough. But I was just implying that when they actually do begin to talk to you, or a young girl, and you're in a situation when you're going to talk to them, they just have nothing to say. And I don't mean like they're dumb or uninteresting or bad people by any means, but I just feel like their parents have failed them, society has put them down the wrong way, and they don't appreciate conversation and how you can. It's a give and take. You say something, sparks an idea, you have a conversation about it, you throw off theories, and and have some fun with it. But nowadays, it's not like that, and maybe it's us saying we're getting older, but it's just too bad that people, when they do talk, which is rare, that they have nothing to say.
It's interesting. Like, I don't think it's just the younger generation doing that because driving to work 8 o'clock in the morning, I see people our age or older driving the other way, one hand a coffee, the other hand their phone, going like this, and like kind of driving with their knees or something. That's like, that's not safe at all. And even like the place when you pick up your kids from school, you drive up and then the kids, jump on the bus or they jump in your car. And I see ladies driving up on their phone, and there's like 30 kids right next to the curb, and they're not even looking. They're looking at their phone. Not everybody, but enough to make me concerned with their phone in hand and just going nuts. It's like, it seems to be because these things are so amazing and they have everything on it that we need. People are addicted to them. I've found myself to be in that boat at one time or another where I'm like, I've got to set it down and step away from it. Otherwise, it's too tempting to look. There's so many things: emails, text messages, internet, fantasy football scores, whatever. It's very, very attractive, to any kind of need that a person has. So maybe more so for the younger generation, because they don't have that history of not having it. But I really think that people our age, maybe like 30s and 40s, are just as glued to their phones, even dangerously so, in proportion to people who are of a younger generation. That's just my experience from the people around me.
You're 100% right. I agree in the sense of people of our generation. We knew life before the magic phone or the magic device, and now that we have it, we're like, this is fucking awesome. And like when we were young, we saw it in like futuristic movies, or just thought, wouldn't it be cool? But now we have it, so we're like totally into it and all that kind of thing. Where I think young people, and I've seen it with my nieces and nephews, where like they're just born into it now and they have one, but they're on it all the time, of course, because they want to be connected with their friends, and it's what society says you do, because every influence of movie or show or whatever sees people holding their phones doing stuff, so they just do it because they think that's what they're supposed to do. and they don't really care. It doesn't have any value to them. They're just like, oh, this is what I can do instead of paying attention in school, or I'm bored, or that kind of thing. Where our generation, I think the value is so high to us because we didn't have it when we were young, and now it's awesome. And I think our generation is going to be the first generation that will be a little bit closer in the technology gap, where you take older generations and they want nothing to do with cable TV. They can't even get direct TV turned on. But our generation is like, we had all that, we continue to have it. So like, we're not going to be so far removed from technology as we become old people.
Probably not. And the whole Apple's whole business model is to be super accessible to anybody, 90 years old, 4 years old. And make it really simple to unlock and to download an app and to get on, do whatever you need. I think that's the way things are going. There's not, back in like the late 90s, you had to try hard. You had to want to get on the internet. You had to want to sign up for an email address because it wasn't, they didn't just hand them out. They had those CDs they sent in the mail, the AOL discs, and you had to sign up. And if you didn't have any idea of what to do.
An example of that would be how I got my first Gmail account, is because you sent me an invitation to join Gmail, because nobody could just join and get a Gmail account if you wanted. Somebody who already had it had to send you an invitation, and you only got to send five invitations, and then it became 50, and now it's anybody can sign up.
Gmail was kind of like an STD how it started out. You had to get it from somebody else, and then it started with a couple people, and it just spread across the world. Now everybody's got it. Gmail is HPV.
It really is. I think you're onto something there.
No shot for Gmail.
I think you just single-handedly blew the minds of everyone that will watch this. So, we ain't hating on Google by any means, or Gmail. It's always been good to me. I prefer it. But I just remember what you're saying. Like, same with Facebook. If you didn't go to university, you couldn't have a Facebook. And then when it finally opened up to the public, and that's when I got mine, and I hated it ever since.
Yeah, it's garbage. Hey, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
You ready for this? And I want you to be honest with me.
Well, lucky for you, sir, I'm in a very honest mood.
All right. Have you ever been in a fight, a fist fight, one-on-one fight with another person?
Yeah. I through my younger days of playing sports, and aggression gets going, and people get angry, and you push and shove, and you go at it. So yeah, fights brew. In my adult life, nothing crazy, because it's too dangerous now, and not so much in the sense of it's dangerous because you know what you're going to get yourself into with somebody if you fight them, if you're aggressive enough, because you don't know what they're going to do. And more importantly, it's dangerous if you hurt somebody, even on accident. You can go to jail, and it'll fuck up your whole life and all that. So as my wise teacher, Mr. Miyagi, told me, karate only for defense, and I don't look for fights.
So you got into a fight in the middle of a game?
No, practices, like at practice.
Oh, with other teammates and stuff.
Yeah, you get pissed off and angry and all that kind of stuff, and people, tensions would fly a little bit, and you get in a fight. But fighting is, if you want to know if people have never been in a fight, or people think they're tough and they want to be in a fight, just watch an MMA match when the guys finally connect. And what's the first thing that happens? They both go up and they hit the mat, and then they roll around and nothing happens for a minute. That's what real fights are. They're not like the movies where you're going to go toe to toe and blow to blow with somebody. And being in my line of work with bars and things like that, fights, they'd last no longer than 15 seconds because it's one throw and then everyone jumps on you. So
you have to break up fights at your work?
Not now. Nope. I'm in a particular establishment that has yet to have a fight, and we're really proud of that. And we put a lot of people through, 800 people a night, and we don't have any fights because we have good attitude. And everybody that's involved in the training of security staff, We don't train to fight. We train to protect the innocents, and then the people that want to fight can just yell and scream or punch themselves out, and nothing will happen. So we don't encourage it. So just nothing goes right in a fight. I mean, it's the old cliche of fighting. Fighting never solves anything, and it really doesn't, because it really just leads to way more problems. And more importantly, if your guy gets your ass kicked, you're gonna want revenge, and then it just gets dangerous.
Have you punched another dude in the face?
Maybe.
Have you been punched in the face?
Yes. I mean, it's all right. I'll tell you a story about me getting punched in the face, and this is a true story. I was 21, 22 years old, and I was out with high school friends. Like we had all kind of gotten together and seen each other in a few years, and we went a little bar hopping in Michigan, and we ended up at a bar, hanging out, having fun, and particular friends I hadn't seen in a while, so we're getting together. And then one of the friends, her and I were pretty good friends in high school, but like we never dated or anything like that. And now we're just kind of friends and hanging out. And she was getting drunk and, kind of running around the bar, causing problems and stuff. And then she comes over, and I thought like, oh, we're kind of like hitting it off, like maybe something, would go down or something like that. And she comes over and like sits across from me, and she's kind of like talking to me and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is kind of going good, whatever. And and then she gets up and she comes over and she sits on my lap, and I was like, oh, this is going real good, okay. And she kind of looks at me and kind of cocks her head a little bit, and then just leans back and just punches me right in the face.
The lady's punching you in the face?
Lady punched me right in the face. And
how is that even possible if they're sitting on your lap? You can't even get a big cock back.
Well, just enough. It was enough. Like she just can't. It was kind of like you're sitting there. So imagine like sitting on someone's lap. So their kind of face is here, and their hand is off to the side, so you don't see it. It's just kind of like boom, tagged me right in the face.
Do you remember when I said that you were like Hank Moody from Californication?
Well, let me tell the rest of the story. So it wasn't enough to like hurt me or anything like that, but it just like caught me off guard, and I was like, okay, but I like picked her up and I was like, party over, I'm done, I don't know what's going on, whatever. And she looks at me and she says, I owed you one. And I was just like, okay. And then it dawned on me that a few years prior, same person, we were seniors in high school, and it was New Year's Eve, and we went to, all of us got together, New Year's Eve party, all high school friends, and, house parties and all that kind of stuff. And I'd forgotten that night when we were all hanging out, and, high school kids, and, horsing around, that kind of stuff, and people were throwing things and, like, pillows and all this kind of stuff. I remember I had a pillow, and I was going to hit her in the head with the pillow. It just so happened that when I swung, she was coming at me, and she didn't stop, and she moved a little too far forward, so I missed her with the pillow part, and I punched her right in the forehead and almost knocked her out, like just knocked her clean on her ass. And of course I felt bad, and it was an accident and all that kind of stuff, and I thought, okay, it was fine. But fast forward 4 years later, and she got her revenge because she was using her femininity to seduce me. And so I was thinking, oh, I might have a chance with this girl, and she punched me in the face. So kudos to her for setting me up and getting her revenge.
It would have been so much better if like you didn't realize that this was the same girl, and like you just thought, oh, this is this is like a storyline from Circles, right? You didn't realize it was like the same chick from high school, and then she was seducing you, and then all of a sudden punch in the face. Hey, I'm that girl from the 90s.
Well, it was even better because I did know her, but I wasn't thinking about punching her in the face because I was all caught up into, hey, we're older now, and we're all drinking, and she's looking hot, and I'm thinking this might be a good opportunity to make up for what we didn't do when we were in high school. And and she let me believe that until she punched me in the face. And lo and behold, we settled, and let's just say we never actually went out on a date or anything ever happened between us. But she got her revenge, and I think life turned out okay for both of us.
I think you kind of deserve that.
Oh yeah, that's why after she did it and then said, she owed me one, and then I put two and two together, and I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. That's fair. So yeah.
Hank
So I'm gonna,
Moody.
for sure. I want to ask you the same question. Have you been punched, or have you punched someone, male or female?
I haven't, and that's why I wanted to ask you about that because I don't know. I was listening to I think it was a Mark Maron podcast. It had Dax Shepard, actor Dax Shepard. You remember him? And he was before he got famous, he was on Punked, and one of the things that he was famous for was he was the one that punked Justin Timberlake, made him cry, made him think that his house is being like repossessed and everything, and he was explaining about how Dax had a really bad temper and he would just throw down at any given moment. And I guess Ashton Kutcher told him, he's like, dude, whatever happens, you just have to take it. You just have to take it. You can't, fight back. You can't do, anything aggressive. That's just the nature of the show. And so after the prank was over, Timberlake kept saying, "Oh my God, man, I wanted to hit you. I was this close to hitting you." And he's like, "Okay, okay." And he's like, "No, you don't understand. I would have beat your ass." And he's like, "All right, all right," and like got heated and everything like that, which would have been funny to see. But so I was thinking, I was like, "Well, I've never gotten in a fight really. I did get into like a school fight, which was like must have been the second week of middle school, and some kid was picking on one of my good friends that I had grown up with, and we were in the hall during must have been right after lunch or something, and he was like pushing him, and just doing bully stuff to this buddy of mine. And so I didn't know what to do. I just had a spoon in my hand. So I went up to him and I like flicked him like in the face with it. And then he turns around and he starts pushing me. And so I'm pushing him back a little bit. And this guy, he was like half a foot taller than me, which everyone pretty much was at that time. And then as soon as that happened, out of nowhere, like a crowd just appeared around us. Like I have no idea how it happened because it seemed like it was an empty hallway, and then all of a sudden there was like 20 people around us saying, "Fight, fight, fight!" And really, all we were doing was pushing each other like this. Teacher came over, grabbed us, and we got suspended half a day, I think, for really doing nothing. It was just pushing, and I just wonder, because like I can vividly remember this one of my neighbors, his face during that whole like fracas. He looks at me, he's like, "Hit him! Hit him!" And it was just like such a surreal moment that I was just outside of my body, and I just pushing. So it wasn't anything big, and I had to just sit in the principal's office for half a day. And it's funny because like right away you kind of get pegged as either a good kid or a bad kid, and the person who was the principal at the time, I think I ran into him like many years later and stuff, and he's like, you got in a fight the first week of middle school and stuff. I thought, you were going to be a bad kid, but it turns out, you're actually a good kid. And first impressions.
Boy, was he
First
wrong,
impressions. Exactly. That's your tip of the day. Don't ever rely on first impressions because you miss out on this. All this up in your face.
You strike me, and this is coming from experience of being your friend and being in these situations, as you're the guy that's out front saying all the shit to the guys that want to fight, getting them riled up, instigating them to start the fight, and then when the shit's getting heated and everyone swarms in, it's going to go down. You've found your way out of the pack, and now you're across the room having a drink, or who God knows where, off doing something else. That is the kind of person that you always strike me as, is Mr. Instigator.
That I could see why you would say that, but I don't think that that's really true. I did have some pretty big athlete friends that would have had my back. I think that there were times probably that I wasn't like if we were playing intramural sports, and people would, they would pick on, the 6'6" guys on my team. They would pick on me because, I was much shorter and smaller than all of them. So I guess there were times where I would probably talk trash, knowing that nothing would happen because those guys, the big dudes would have my back and nothing would really happen. So maybe a little bit, probably 17, 18, but after that, like college, man, there's way too many people who will beat your ass for no good reason. So I wasn't about to give them a reason. Being a smaller guy growing up, it you get picked on a little bit. So you sort of you develop that flight mentality, I guess, or putting up a front in later years, I guess. I don't think, I don't think I really did that. I think I shied away from confrontation. I still do a little bit. But not being in the position to physically defend myself from like a bigger dude, and it was always a bigger dude, right? Like some 5'5" guy isn't going to come up to another shorter guy and like start some damage, whatever. So it was always like a big dude who
it's the opposite.
Hates his life.
It's always the short guys that want to fight. Like big dudes, like they know they can squash anybody and they don't care. Like like I've hung out with some really big like football player types or fighter guys. Usually like MMA fighters, they're the nicest dudes because they know they can whoop ass, and that's not what it's about. Martial arts guys are about that too. It's not about whooping the ass. It's the short guys that got picked on for being shorter than everybody that want to fight everybody because they want to prove stuff. And I've always been a little taller than most people, and plenty of short dudes that get up in my business that antagonize you and things like that, and I've always just been smarter than most with my mouth, and so I can just talk my way around it or whatever. And I think when we all hung out, you always just kind of strummed it up because we were all smart asses, and like we might not have been the biggest guys, but we could talk ourselves in and out of problems constantly. So you were always instigating in order to get me to like get fired up to like destroy somebody verbally. So.
That could be true.
It's absolutely true.
I think mostly just trying to make you guys laugh is what I'm trying to do, not get you in trouble. But if you get in trouble, I guess that just happens. Hey man, I gotta tell you something. I was really scared for a little bit today because that thing that keeps coming up, that you and I both agree that when or if something happens, we're going to have a hard time. I was on Twitter. I saw trending topic, Michael J. Fox. I was like, oh, crap, no. Like, what's going on? Why is he trending? Why are a lot of people talking about him? And I wasn't able to get the answer, but he is alive. And it has something to do with Burger King. I'm not sure what it is. Something about him boycotting Burger King, which prompted a lot of jokes of like, oh, it's ironic, because I thought you were all about the shakes, or something, just crazy, disrespectful crap like that. Don't even laugh at that, Josh, because it's terrible. Don't encourage that kind of junk. It's garbage and it doesn't belong on this show. It doesn't belong in my life. So to put it in a Tupperware canister and throw it in the garbage. Take that attitude out of here, man. But
you're absolutely right.
But damn it, if that day comes, you can get a phone call. It could be 9 o'clock in the morning, could be 1 o'clock in the morning, could be lunchtime, but that would put a little scare into me. I don't know if you were aware of this. You probably weren't, but it happened, and half a second you think, oh God, no.
It's something that comes up is when your heroes die, and they're going to. It's just like your parents. It's just like your friends. It's just like you. It's going to happen, but you don't think it's real. And Yeah, I know I'm gonna have some hard times. I've had hard times when certain heroes pass on, but you know that's the beauty of them being heroes is everything they did along the way is still there. And I find myself from time to time. That's the beauty of YouTube and stuff. You can look up old Michael Jordan videos or
He's
old.
not dead, man. He's just an old
That's
prick
the
now.
point I'm trying to make here is that your heroes will always live on, especially with technology and all that kind of stuff. And then same with your family and friends. We have so much where things will live on. But you're right. When when it comes up on Twitters and the news feeds that people had passed and things like that, it hits you, especially when it's somebody that even though you never knew them, but you cared about their work. I think is it bad if you care just as much about one of your heroes, something happening to them as you do like a family member? Excluding
Not at
your
all.
kids and your wife and that kind of stuff. I mean, closest ones, but just are they on the same level? Is it okay if they are?
I think it is because if you think about someone you really, really look up to, like who's a celebrity that passed that you had a really hard time with? You're saying like your heroes have passed and you had a
Not too many of my heroes have passed yet. Get back to me on that one. Continue your thought.
okay. Well, anyway, you idolize these people. You follow their career as if it were your own. You know, anytime their new movie comes out, new album comes out, you're always, um, consuming that merchandise. And maybe there's something in that person or the characters that they play that you can really identify with. And I'm sure that you have had albums or songs that have gotten you through a tough place. Listen to it over and over again, and you identify with it. And those people have sort of been there for you in a weird way and help you cope with things and relate to things. Whereas, if there's a distant uncle that you have who passed away, he's blood, but it wasn't really a part of your life. He was just connected to you through blood. I think that's a fair thing to be upset about. And as much as a family member if need be, because those people, like, think about TV. TV is so intimate because it's in your house. They're in your house with you every week for years and years and years. It feels like their family. It feels like they're friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when Pat Morita died, and even though he just played a character in a movie and it wasn't even really his personality and he wasn't that guy and stuff, the movie and the idea of it meant more to me than a lot of things. And so it was sad for me when the old sensei dies. Even though, I mean, he was old when he made the movies, and it's going to happen to everybody, but it's still, you have that moment where you step back and you're like, gosh, that was a good dude from what I know and that kind of thing. And I'm not a sentimental human being that much. I don't get too emotional about death. I look at it a little differently than most, and people have died in my life, and I use those opportunities to uh, carry on or make sure people know about it. They did when my grandmother died last year, and the day of, and everyone's wrecked, and I was like, I made it a point, like, I wanted to be, and she had a big Catholic mass, ceremony and all that. And I wanted to be someone that talked, and say whatever, everyone else had a hard time saying, like, 'cause it meant to me that I can do that in front of a large group, even though I'm feeling something emotionally, I can still talk and, to really project. And then I made sure, afterwards when people are just standing around, then all we did was tell our favorite stories and all that. So death to me is, a way of making sure someone lives on forever. So I don't look at it as like sad. So like when the Twitter comes in that MJF passes whatever, yeah, it's going to be heart wrenching. But for me, it's like, oh, that the guy did a lot more than just some movies and that kind of stuff. And it goes for everybody, I think. And I think
Uh-huh.
it's
Uh-huh.
because
Uh-huh.
I
Totally.
want it. I
Totally.
want it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that way, when I pass, someone will stand up and say great things about me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Has there ever been any of your heroes that have died?
Just Pat Morita, and all my
Hmm.
other heroes are still alive. So my grandfather just died recently, and I didn't get a chance to go back to the funeral or any of that kind of stuff. But I was fortunate enough to spend lots of time with the guy, and it was all right. These things are going to happen. So that's a funny thing. So yeah, when you
It's a
die,
total funny
I'm
thing.
sure I'll have an emotional breakdown.
Yeah. Have any of your heroes died?
Moving on. So, on this topic, is it all right? Can I do the tip of the day? Is that legal, or do you have to do it every time? I've never done
I
one,
mean,
but I would
I
like
kind of
to.
did one, but yeah, go ahead.
I was going to interject
Doesn't have
here
to be
because
me.
I think this is it's very important that I whip out a tip of the day here, and that's on this topic is just in case any of you out there are like Brandon, who are getting a little older, especially in a couple days, and your life is starting to come down the other side of the hill, and maybe reflecting a little bit on your time on this planet and this universe. But what would you do if you found out you're going to die next week? If you found out you're going to die in a month, what would you do? And so just so you know, you're gonna die. Everybody's gonna die. What happens after you die, who knows? But it's gonna happen. So in the meantime, all those things you say you want to do before you die, do them. Everything. Don't wait. If you're gonna die next week, what would you do in the meantime? Go do all that stuff now. Tell everybody the things you want to tell them. Do all the things you want to do, and have a good time doing it. And don't be afraid to say I love you, and and all the things you feel some of people are going to look down on you for doing them. If you want to go do it, do it. So that's the tip of the day is live like you're going to die. And even if you're cheating death every day, just get after it.
Get after it. That's the tip of the day. Get after it. Don't be afraid. Just do it. No, not just do it. Get sued for that. Yeah. Do what you. Don't put it off. Right?
Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. You're not going to live forever. Before you come down with some horrendous, you're not Wolverine, so you're not going to live forever. So it's a nice bookend for tonight's episode is live like you're not Wolverine because you are going to die. But live like you're Wolverine and be a badass and go do everything you want to do. Don't settle for good. You got to be great. And tell all the people you love that you love them and enjoy life.